refused to account to you. What on earth has that got to do with state capture? Is that a criminal offense, refusing to account to you? Because state capture is a criminal offense, we know.
Well, in terms of the PFMA, there's a particular set of accountabilities. So depending on which particular section of the PFMA you refer to, it could constitute a criminal offense. But I don't think that you want to, or rather, we should allow the impression to be created in the public mind that this is about the pettiness of a leave form. It's a lot more than that. Accountability is an absolutely crucial part of any democracy in the world, including South Africa.
I agree.
So if there is an absence of accountability, which I explained earlier on, and I won't repeat that, because then you're going to say I'm taking too long, but that's a part of a contribution towards repurposing an institution.
Okay, I'm giving up on that answer. I was saying, I will come back to this. I was saying that you have accused every public official who has ever made an adverse decision against you to be a practitioner of state capture. And the examples I was giving, and I want you to comment, where I gave the example of President Zuma, which there was an objection, but other people that you have accused of state capture who have made adverse findings against you include Mr. Shaun Abrahams and the public protector, correct?
Now, firstly, your general notion, I don't accept. Secondly,
yes. The specific one?
Again, Chair is interrupting me while I'm talking.
No, he's just asking you to specify the general notion with which you don't agree that you are referring to. You said his general
transcription service.
You
first comment was, I accused every public official who issues an unfavorable finding of state capture. I said that's the proposition I do not accept.
Okay, all right, yes.
Is that clearly understood?
Yeah, continue, yes.
Right. The second point he then raises is the former president on the one hand, and Mr. Shaun Abrahams on the other hand.
And the public protector.
Commission.
Oh, he was just adding that the public protector is another one that he mentioned, but you can take them one by one.
So where relevant, Chairperson, I have indicated the kind of role that the former president has played in my evidence before you in November 2018. In relation to Mr. Abrahams, I certainly believe that he played a role, and it's now common knowledge and generally accepted amongst the South African public, which is growing impatient by the lack of people involved in corruption and state capture not appearing in orange uniforms behind jail bars, that the NPA itself was compromised. I don't have details, but it's well accepted, and I imagine the Commission will be looking at it at some stage. In relation to the public protector, whatever I have to say is an affidavit before various courts. Thank you.
Mr. Mpofu.
So again, you accuse all those people of being practitioners of state capture without any evidence, or what you call, you don't have the details.
You didn't ask me for details.
I'm asking you, okay, what evidence have you got of the involvement of the public protector in state capture?
No, Chairperson, I think this is beyond the scope of what I'm here for.
The chair will be here. Mr. Gordhan, please. I don't want to waste time. I'm sorry to interrupt you. The chairperson is here. He knows when the question is not fair. You said you are not a lawyer. Your job is to answer the questions, not to make rulings.
My job is also not to accept instructions from you, Advocate Mpofu.
Do you have or do you not have evidence that the public protector was involved in state capture?
Hang on.
Chairperson, let me make it absolutely clear that I am not on trial. It is Advocate Mpofu's client who must come and testify what he did at SARS, not me.
Okay, let's
Second
take.
point, Chairperson, I'm appealing to you whether I must answer questions in relation to the public protector and whether that's the scope you intended.
Let's pause. Let's pause. Mr. Mpofu, just repeat what your question was.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a follow-up question, Chair. The first,
Yes.
remember the proposition. As you said, when we ask a question, we start with a
Yeah.
general and then a specific proposition. The question was whether he goes around accusing every public official who has made an adverse finding against him, and he said no. Then I made these examples, then he dealt with each one of them. Now I'm asking the third follow-up, which is, did he make the accusations against these people without evidence? And that's it. It flows from the proposition I was making about him making such accusations against Mr. Moyane without evidence.
Well, apart from the issue of the scope, the issue that Mr. Chaskalson raised earlier on becomes relevant, namely, you may be inviting him now to put up in the public domain details of what he might consider to be evidence of state capture by people who have not been notified. They might
No,
be
but he has
mentioned.
already, I didn't want to respond to that. What Mr. Chaskalson was saying does not apply.
But I don't
Because
have
the
that here.
witness, I'm sorry, Chair, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying I don't have that here, that he has made, for example, allegations against the public protector relating to state capture. It's not something that I'm aware of in front of.
Yes, but the witness is aware of it. And
Yes.
Chair, with the greatest respect, part of cross-examination goes to the credibility of the witness. So I cannot be confined. If he has already answered the question, he should not have answered the question about those individuals. I can't be stopped when it starts to hurt. I'm simply asking the question of whether those accusations which he has testified about here, not in his statement in front of you 10 minutes ago, about Mr. Abrams and the public protector, that he made them without evidence. It flows from his evidence now, not from anything else. And as far as Mr. Zuma is concerned, which is Mr. Chaskalson's point, the questions I was putting flow from the evidence which was given in 2018, but I will come to that. That's why I said I don't want to go to war on that particular issue. But whether this witness has a propensity to accuse people without evidence, including Mr. Moyane, cannot be said to be out of the scope. That A to E deals with exactly that.
Yes. Let me hear what Mr. Chaskalson and Ms. Leroux have to say. Mr. Chaskalson.
Chair, I would repeat my earlier objection. The issue as to whether Mr. Gordhan has evidence to support his allegations against Mr. Moyane is the issue we're here to deal with today. In relation to other individuals, at best, it goes to an issue of credibility, but if it does, then Mr. Mpofu is bound by the answer of the witness, and the witness said, yes, he has got evidence. Mr. Mpofu shouldn't be allowed to go further than that because it's just an issue of credibility, and it's also collateral to the central issues, and one that is inviting a witness to implicates parties who've been given no notice that potentially serious allegations are going to be made against them.
Let me hear Ms. Leroux as well before Ms. Leroux.
Thank you, Chair. We would obviously align ourselves with Mr. Chaskalson's submissions. As I understand Mr. Mpofu's, the thrust of the question is to say what you've done to Tom Moyane, you've done to others. The witness has dealt with the others that were identified, and we can surely move on to actually get back to Mr. Moyane, rather than waste time on parties who are not here, have not been warned, and quite honestly, that evidence is not within the scope of what you've ruled. So I would ask that we get a ruling that we go back to why he says Mr. Moyane was part of state capture.
Mr. Mpofu.
Chairperson, well, firstly, Ms. Leroux agrees with Mr. Chaskalson, but Mr. Chaskalson is wrong. So must she be. Because the answer that Mr. Chaskalson is referring to was an answer to a different question about Mr. Moyane, which was given, not to the question I'm dealing with now about the others. And this is a matter of credibility, unless if you're saying, Chair, the proposition, that's why I start with the proposition, so that it's not mysterious where I'm going with the proposition. And if the Chair rules that the proposition I put, which is that this witness has a propensity to accuse people without evidence, if that is not relevant to A to E, then I will move to another question. But in my respectful submission, it is.
Let's take a short adjournment and let me see counsel in my chambers.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Mr. Gordhan, we are going to take a short adjournment for me to have a discussion.
Can I give one response to the ultimate issue raised, Chair, if I may, for just half a minute?
Hang on, Mr. Gordhan. Let me just...
You want us to do it after the adjournment?
Let me talk to counsel, and when we come back, depending on what comes out, it might or might not be necessary for you to say anything.
Thank you.
We'll adjourn.
All right, the Commission adjourning there for a short while. Advocate Dalimpofu, who is part of the former SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane's legal team, cross-examining Minister Pravin Gordhan at the State Capture Commission. We'll certainly bring you more on that later in the bulletin. Let's take a short break.